All over Earth, the effects of climate change are real. Climate scientists at NASA and the United States Environmental Protection Agency have repeatedly explained how climate change results in storm events of greater intensity. While weather is not climate, this week's evidence seems to support the warnings. A cyclone clobbered Australia and New Zealand. Deadly avalanches of water and mudslides killed hundreds of people in Colombia. And last month, Peru experienced widespread flooding. Micronesia is implementing climate adaptation measures. In Hawaii, rising seas are affecting groundwater and causing routine floods. The New Yorker magazine openly wonders, when is it time to retreat? But retreat is not an option for the international diplomats who must engage the Trump administration. The Independent reported how the United States forced the G20 to drop any mention of climate change in its joint statement. Time magazine explained how the world is responding to President Trump's climate policies. We're not going to backslide, even if the United States at the moment is backsliding from its previous commitments, said European Climate Commissioner Miguel Arias-Cañete. China's resolve, aims, and policy moves in dealing with climate change will not change, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lu Kang. Climate change deniers, however, should be pleased with the federal government of the United States. In the long-anticipated Energy Independence Executive Order, President Trump stated that the executive departments and agencies of the United States would immediately review existing regulations that potentially burden the development or use of domestically produced energy resources. The agencies were also directed to suspend, revise, or rescind rules that unduly burden the development of domestic energy resources beyond the degree necessary. The order did state a continued intent to promote clean air and clean water for the American people to the extent permitted by law. Offering comments on this order and surrounded by coal miners, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt explained that we are no longer going to have regulatory assault on any given sector of our economy. The announcement, of course, is another example of the partisan nature of climate policy. Conservatives in the Daily Caller praised the order, while progressives at the Brookings Institute expressed dismay. CBS News reported on a House hearing that deteriorated into name-calling. Already, 32 Democratic senators have introduced the Clean Air, Healthy Kids Act to repeal the executive order, and Al Gore's new film is coming soon. Readers seeking hope in the noise should read the Philadelphia Inquirer report that Republican support for conservation and moderation on climate issues is emerging. But the sorry situation calls for levity, and EPA provided it, and a mistake worthy of Homer Simpson. As the Washington Times and Mother Jones both noted, an agency staffer erroneously attributed the statements of Senator Tom Carper, a Delaware Democrat and ranking member on the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, to Senate Shelley Moore Capito, a West Virginia Republican. The EPA press release declared that President Trump has chosen to recklessly bury his head in the sand. Walking away from the Clean Power Plan and other climate initiatives, including critical resiliency projects, is not just irresponsible, it's irrational. The error was found and the press release was later corrected to include Senator Capito's actual statement that the Clean Power Plan would have completely decimated West Virginia's vital coal industry. Stopping this disastrous plan will preserve America's coal industry, expand our manufacturing renaissance that is reliant upon affordable energy, and protect American families from unprecedented hikes in their electric bills. Partisan bickering and political spin aside, thoughtful commentary from Vox and CNN has recognized that the executive order is the beginning of a long process. Some actions might happen quickly, others must take time. As J.D. Supra business advisor further explained, rescinding existing rules and regulations and the coal-first mantra will undoubtedly spawn extensive litigation on a variety of fronts. But the real key to the order and why it matters may lie less in a coal renaissance and more in setting a framework for natural gas development that helps ensure a transition to a clean energy future, which many states have already committed to pursuing. Indeed, the federal actions will have big stake and local consequences. As Inside Climate News reported, while President Trump aims to roll back federal protections, mayors and governors say they will fight it and ramp up efforts to address climate action locally. For example, the Los Angeles Times, describing a California report seeking to help the state meet its climate change goals, noted the likelihood of denser housing, fewer trucks, more electric cars, less driving, higher tolls, more renewable energy, and lower electric bills. City planners in San Diego are listening to public comments and thinking about sustainable development, says the Orange County Register, and St. Augustine, the historic city in Florida, is planning for rising seas. But people looking for new industrial jobs in coal country might wait a long time. According to The Economist, many of the promoted benefits of the executive order may not reach the state and local governments because the forces of efficiency and competition, not regulations, have caused a decline in the coal industry, and the jobs may not come back. Jobs are at risk in Palm Beach County, Florida, too. As Salon magazine notes, despite the evidence that seas are rising around the Palm Beach White House, known as Mar-a-Lago, President Trump has proposed a budget that eliminates the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Sea Grant program, and with the deletion of that federal budget line item, Palm Beach County's funding for flood risk, mapping, ungraded coastal storm protections, workshops, and regional climate action planning will suffer. Noting this radical change in direction and remembering his own experience in China, author Howard Goodman in the Palm Beach Post described the highly personal implications of unfunded environmental programs and unregulated industrial activity. China's past policies, for example, produced a host of problems, such as polluted air requiring face masks, dye-colored rivers making swimming impossible, fish kills spreading odors, plastic-coated tea, harmful chemicals in milk and baby formula, and using cooking oil sold as new. Historically, the United States bureaucracy and courts, two institutions frequently experiencing the criticisms of President Trump, protected Americans from these types of environmental harms and abuses. But as Mr. Goodman, National Geographic, the Vatican, and many more have noted, the leadership roles of the United States and China seem to be reversing. Local governments and individual citizens must decide how to respond. Meanwhile, scientists and businessmen continue to warn of the consequences of climate change. An Israeli news outlet explained how the National Academy of Sciences has flatly contradicted the White House. An Arab news report says that emergency preparedness is at risk in the United States too. And an American Psychological Association report explains that climate change and post-disaster recovery have significant impacts upon mental health, ranging from suicide to post-traumatic stress disorder to depression, with children hit especially hard. iDrop News explained how the giants of the technology community, including Apple, Google, and Microsoft, expressed their unanimous support in favor of the climate rules rescinded by Trump's order. But in the end, a letter to the editor in New York Times saying follow the dark money seems on point. Hard evidence, including a study by Dr. James Lawrence Powell, showing that 24,210 articles written by 69,406 scientists shows that all but 4 agree that global warming is caused primarily by human activity, particularly burning fossil fuel. Yet, as the American Prospect explains, science remains under intense political scrutiny. Senator Lamar Smith is sponsoring legislation that will invite what Smith calls more balanced perspectives by making it easier for experts with corporate ties to fossil fuels to serve on the board. As Business Insider put it, the fight for clean air and a healthy planet has just begun.